My name is Maxim Alekhnovich, and let's speak about HTML. HTML code instructs web browsers how to render content. It explains the underlying structure of a web page. For decades, HTML has been considered a cornerstone technology of the World Wide Web, along with Cascade style sheets or CSS and JavaScript. Standards for both HTML and CSS are maintained by the World Wide Web Consortium. Uh, as its name implies, HTML isn't technically a programming language. It's a markup language used to organize data from the internet. HTML documents are composed of HTML elements represented by tags, which are written inside angle brackets to categorize content. And example of the HTML structure to display a simple hello world message would like this. HTML document delivered from web service lets the browsers know how to present text in addition to embedding links, images, and interactive forms. HTML5, the result of collaboration between the World Wide Web Consortium or W3C and the Web Hypertext Application Technology Working Group or WOTWG. The organizations teamed up in 2006 to reduce reliance on plugins, improve error handling, and replace, replace, replace scripting with more markups. Consequently, HTML5 has greatly simplified the process of creating web applications. What are the advantages of HTML5 for web users? Some data can be stored on the user's device, which means app can continue working properly without an internet connection. Web page can display more fonts with a wider array of colors, shadows, and other effects. Objects on the page can move in response to the user cursor's movements. Interactive media such as games can run in web browsers without the need for extra software or plugins. Audio and video playback also no longer require additional plugins. Browser can display interactive 3D graphics using the computer's own graphics processors. By limiting the need for external plugins, HTML5 allow for faster delivery and more dynamic content. What are the advantages of HTML5 for web developers? And major focus of HTML5 was to give developers more flexibility, which in turn would lead to more engaging user experience. HTML5 was conceived with several goals in mind. Consistent error handling. All browsers have parsers for handling syntactically and structurally improper HTML code. However, until recently, there was no writing standard for this process. According to the Rebuilding the web resource, and about 19% of web pages are eliminated to contain some improper code. So error handling is vital for properly displaying websites. Consequently, codified error handling can save browsers developers a lot of time and money. The benefits of clearly defined parsing algorithm cannot be understated. Support for more web application features. Another goal of HTML5 was to enable browsers to work as application platform. HTML5 gives developers more control over the performance of their websites. Many of the Flash and JS based hacks commonly used in HTML4 are now elements inherited to the language. This change also allowed for a faster and smoother user experience. Enhanced element semantics. The semantic role of some existing elements have been improved to make the code more intuitive. New elements like section, header, article, and nav can replace most div elements, which makes scanning for mistakes a less painful process. Maximized mobile support. Mobile devices are notorious for giving web developers headaches. The rapid proliferation of the last decade has made the need for better HTML standards more urgent. Users expect to access web application from anywhere, anytime, on any device. So developers have been forced to meet the demands of the market. Fortunately, HTML5 makes mobile support easier by catering to low-fuel devices like smartphone and tablets. Other notable improvements. Now that a few years have passed since the late launch of HTML5, several major companies have converted their websites, and many developers are sharing their opinions on HTML with HTML5. Features that have been commonly cited as favorites include support for custom data attributes. Adding custom data attributes in a tag was risky before in HTML5. With HTML4, custom attributes wouldn't prevent page from rendering completely, but they could result in an invalid document, which would cause browsers to render in quirks mode. The data attribute has taken care of this problem. No more cookies thanks for local storage. Although it's already been mentioned, support for local storage has been a real game changer. Before HTML5, cookies were the only reliable way to store state information. Of course, cookies hold a very limited amount of data, and some web users disable cookie by default. HTML5's local storage object provides developers a way to work around the stateless nature of the HTTP protocol. Form file autofocus. The form file autofocus attribute lets developers designate with the form field will have input focus on the page loads. Of course, only one form element per document may utilize the autofocus attribute, and the user can override it by selecting a different file. Script and link tags no longer require type attribute, since it's now implied that script and link tags refer to scripts and style sheets respectively. The need for the type attribute has been eliminated. The future of HTML5. A new generation of developers will undoubtedly discover new ways to take advantage of HTML5, and social media will likely drive the continual evolution of the language. The W3C has announced that future updates to HTML5 will prioritize core application foundations, such as privacy tools. It's exciting to see some of this change implemented in HTML. And we can see that all this change are bringing a better experience both for the users and for the developers.